Welcome to SuperOK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. As always, my name is Dale, and I am joined here by two excellent people. First up, we got Brodie. Brodie, say hi.
Hello, you are joined by me and my cat, which is threatening to unplug my microphone, so hopefully I'm able to complete this episode before my cat unplugs my microphone.
Now, what's your cat's name?
My cat's name is Leah, and she is named for Leah Kane in Diablo 3, who eventually gets possessed by Diablo himself and causes a bunch of trouble. She's
So
very appropriately named. Yes, I have done this to myself.
This to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Also, Mel's here. How you doing, Mel?
Hi, I'm doing great. I hope that both of you are having a fantastic day.
I am. Woo. Do you have any demon cats?
I do have a demon cat. His name is Pavel, but he's only a demon because he wants to bite your toes underneath your desk while you're at work.
That's demon behavior.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
He like nuzzles against your leg and he's like, "Oh, I'm really sweet." Just bites your toe.
Cats.
Why do you let that thing in your house?
I mean, it's cute.
Okay.
It's cute.
All right.
Cute demons. Cute demons are totally okay.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So every week we do a highlight of the week. Sometimes it's cute demons. I don't know. Where we talk about what is brighter, what has made our week brighter, better, more pleasant, and whatnot. And I am going to go first because I think mine is the least exciting out of all of them. But mine was also really good. We just had Thanksgiving with Angie's family, and it was great to be able to spend the day with them and chill out. My niece wrote a book in which I was the villain and stole Thanksgiving dinner to give it to Ange as a gift.
Wait, what? You're the villain?
I was the villain. I'm the villain. I got to play Magic with my other niece. My nephew Cameron invents a bunch of crazy shit. Brodie's cat's asshole is directly in the camera right now. It's just cat eyeball.
Yeah, welcome to every work call I have to take where I'm like, do I have to be on camera? Really?
Guys, I'm deeply sorry that this is an audio-only format.
Yeah, that was great.
That was amazing. Holy crap. My nephew Cameron, takes all this different stuff and, tapes it together to invent stuff. And he made this, wizard staff out of, 2 long paper, wrapping paper rolls and a pill bottle filled with, stones, which was cool. But then my 2-year-old niece, Ailey, got a hold of it, was just running around the house swinging it at people. So that was amazing.
God.
It was just, the food was all incredible. It was a great day. And then we left and got to go and see my mom. We hung out with the weekend before and did our Thanksgiving. But it was just good to be able to get to see everybody and, the camaraderie and the food coma and all of that. It was just awesome. It was just a great day.
Yo, Thanksgiving is one of the best holidays because you get to see everybody and stuff your face. I
love it.
How do you not happy about that? Speaking of Thanksgiving, I went to the Thanksgiving Day game where the Lions played against Buffalo Bills. And what was really interesting was, I don't know if you guys know, but the Buffalo Stadium got snowed out the weekend before, where they had 3-4 feet of snow just in their stadium, completely white out. So they ended up having their game at Ford Field, which was cool because a lot of the Bills fans ended up staying from that Sunday into Thursday. So 40% of the audience at Ford Field were Bills fans. So it was a very interesting rivalry. And because the Lions fucking suck. Let's all be real. This is a known thing. The Lions suck. The Bills really shouldn't have anything to worry about. But the game ended up being very close, within field goal range of close, which we were, being a Lions fan, it was very surprising to just be able to hang with the Bills and having the Bills be whoa, how is Detroit winning or like, winning in certain periods of time. And it was a fantastic game to witness. If you guys are into football, it was just a nail biter all the way to the end. Yeah.
So this was on at Angie's folks' house, and I was amazed at how close this game was.
Right?
It was absolutely wild. That said, I am not a big football person, and I honestly thought it was the Buffalo Bulls, not the Buffalo Bills. And now I'm curious if they named themselves before Silence of the Lambs or after. And so I've got some research to do after the podcast.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Please do. I'm very interested to know that. Also, what was really weird about the halftime show is that like it wasn't even on the field. Like they ended up having the halftime show like in a main area like of the arena that was like away from all the stands. So like when you watched it on TV, it was like, oh, there's a stage and then like there's people dancing, but like nobody in the stands could see what was going on. Like Baby Rexha like never showed her face to face the stand, like to face the fans, which was like so crazy because everybody started booing. Like people were literally booing her at like the middle of halftime, at the end of halftime.
That explains all the boos. I did not understand that.
Yeah.
So you actually had posted that, I think, in our Discord a while back, and Mr. Out of Touch Brodie, I honestly thought you were talking about a football player, like that there was like a trade or something at the last second, and so like, oh, they're booing this football player. It's like, oh god, nope, just old man Brodie is not with the times.
That's
just
great.
Imagine a football player named Baby Rexha.
I believe it.
Just sounds like the scariest motherfucker on the field.
Yeah. Just running all over the place.
Big boy named Sue energy.
Yeah. So note to any of you expectant mothers out there, if you want to raise a really badass football player, Baby Rexha, do it.
It's going to be tough because your name has to already be Rexha, your last name. So
bonus points if the middle name starts with a T.
God damn it, Brodie. What was your highlight of the week?
All right. So I will. Thanksgivings are always nice for us, but they're a lot lower key since my parents, we grew up doing the like big gatherings and stuff like that. And it just kind of got to be too much for everybody. So we've been just doing basically like Chinese and Korean food for the last several years. So ours was a lot smaller this year. It ended up actually being Italian food because the place we booked a reservation at was accidentally closed until January, and they didn't know it until that day, which is funny.
Oh god.
So my two highlights of the week are actually number one is that now in the past I've talked about Mare and how she's finishing up school, and she is down to the wire. She has a week to go, and then she sits for her boards to get certified as a veterinary technician finally and get that out of the way. She's been doing the job, but they just need to formalize it. And she does that on this coming Friday. So fingers hard crossed, but I'm so excited to finally have full access to her. It's going to be great. I said that in a way which sounds weird and controlling.
It sounded like she had DLC.
No. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
You need the Mare's season pass.
The season pass, yeah. Well, now the season passes are now available since she's about to be done with that. And then the second is just that I picked up a board game from our local store pretty recently, and I'm a little bit late to the game on this one because it was released in the last couple of years. But it's called Fantastic Factories, and it is a brilliant little like roll dice engine builder that's a lot of fun. It plays quickly, and we played it over the weekend and had so much fun. The solo mode is great. I played it a couple of times by myself, and it's really, really, really good. It's an elegant little game that's just like I highly recommend to anybody who likes rolling dice, but also likes building engines and triggering like I spend an ore to get victory points sort of thing. Super, super good recommendation. And they did add an expansion on that has kind of variable player powers. So it does make the game a little bit kind of different depending on who you're playing as, and makes for a little bit more asymmetrical gameplay.
Oh, nice. Asymmetrical gameplay, huh?
Yeah.
I love it. Does this game happen to have Vikings in it?
No, we actually no. It has factories in it. Unless we're talking about like Viking boats, which are built in factories, presumably.
I don't know that Viking boats were built in factories. I'm pretty sure Viking boat were not around when factories were around.
Oh no, I think I just invented a boat manufacturer because we have a Viking marina that's someplace up north, and like, never mind, I fucked up, guys.
No, it's fine. Speaking of Vikings and their marinas, Vikings are known for many things, including great boatsmanship, like Brodie said, but also they discovered all sorts of new lands, and then they would rape and pillage those new lands. And they also were the main faction of a mediocre Assassin's Creed game.
Hey-o.
But did you know that they also created the idea of an asymmetrical game? Like the one Brodie was playing. And like what we're talking about today. It was called Heftentuffel. That ain't right.
Nailed it.
You guys want to give it a shot?
Knee fatal FL.
Careful.
Anyway, it's the first game that I could find that featured two different playstyles and goals for each of the two players. One of them needed to protect a king while it tries to escape the board, and the other is trying to capture that same king. Even better, it's said that the gods played it to try to relax, and the rules look pretty easy. Everything on the board just kind of moves like a rook, which is pretty cool. But that's the first one. From there, I could not find another asymmetrical game. Now, they probably exist, but I couldn't find another one until 1981's Axis and Allies. This one's interesting because each of the 5 players in the board game played as a different World War II combatant starting in the year of 1942. And obviously, in 1942, some of those countries were pretty strong, some of those countries were pretty weak. So it meant that they had wildly different geographic and economic starting positions, which ramped up the strategy. Even if the asymmetry was light, everyone kind of used the same rule set. But everyone started in different positions. So that's like a light asymmetry game. However, the first asymmetrical video game didn't share that lightness, which was the multiplayer version of 1999's Aliens vs. Predator, which allowed whole squads of human Marines to try to take down just one xenomorph or Yaut. I think that's how you say whatever the predators are. I looked it up for this and then immediately forgot how to pronounce it. Anyway, or maybe they're fighting both an alien and a predator if they're really unlucky. But it was really cool because it was like 10 Marines, 1 alien, and the aliens just going around like doing murders on people. Since then, we've had games like Counter-Strike and Dota, which also have light asymmetry, all the way up to modern juggernauts like Left 4 Dead 2, Dead by Daylight, and of course Among Us, which all feature really heavy asymmetry. So let's get into some lopsided fun with our first question, and we'll start with a baseline. Do you prefer lighter asymmetry games? The roles of like a MOBA like Dota or League of Legends? Or do you prefer like heavier asymmetry games like Left 4 Dead 2, Among Us, that sort of thing?
So I think personally, I've got kind of two opinions about this. One of which is I think the idea of the heavier asymmetry is more enticing. It's more exciting. It gives you like a fundamentally different gameplay experience. But that being said, I think I prefer the lighter style with like kind of the like hero abilities like you're talking about and, bangers like Battleborn, rest in peace. But yeah, hard rip on that one. Yeah, I think it's just more commonplace and therefore I'm just more used to it. Although I have played some of the heavier ones. For long story short, I think I'm going to go light on this one.
Okay.
Interesting. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, I think I would be more interested in doing the heavy like asymmetry because like I've played a lot of like competitive video games like FPSs, right? Like Overwatch and in Call of Duty, a little bit of Counter-Strike, but not a lot. And it gets so repetitive after a while because you're doing the same objective over and over again. You have the same type of guns. Like it's so boring after a while because you keep doing it over and over again. So like having like the vast difference of gameplay, whichever opposing side you pick, is just so much more appealing as a gamer because it really makes you like switch context And I feel like that's just because my brain's so ADD. Like it's just way more interesting for me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I actually do want to dig a little bit deeper into something you brought up, which is that you mentioned like Call of Duty and CSGO, which are games that like the asymmetry is stuff that either you bring loadouts or stuff into the games or you acquire at some point in the games, right, by purchasing from a marketplace or something like that. How do we feel like that's true asymmetry? Like for example, does like Gambit and Destiny count as asymmetric multiplayer because people come in as different classes with different guns, so like legendary weapons and stuff?
I was in my head, I was thinking asymmetry as in the type of gameplay that you're doing, right? So that the rule set like has two opposing forces. Not necessarily
so you're talking about like search and destroy and
exactly.
Call of Duty.
Right.
Yeah, or like defense and offense in Overwatch, like that sort of thing. But there's also light asymmetry in like the fact that you are playing this game, you might play as Mercy, and you play completely differently than if you're playing as Pureborn, right? Like those are two very different play styles in the same game, and you might play differently. Even if, let's say you always play Reinhardt, you might play very differently if you have a Mercy on your team than if you have a Pure. So like that's like the light asymmetry. I think Gambit, what they wanted to do, what Bungie wanted to do, and that's an interesting call out, Brodie. I think they wanted it to be a light asymmetrical game, in that they wanted people to go in with focused classes. Like, I'm going to be the collector. I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to be this guy. And everybody, they made armor that did that, but nobody used that armor. Nobody did that. Right?
Yeah.
People are playing Gambit wrong.
Right. Nobody rolls in 4 deep with like 2 Titans, a Warlock, and a Hunter or something. Right.
With all the Gambit armor on. And if you were playing Gambit and you rolled up on people like that, it was just like, all right, see ya. You know, like you're playing a different game than I am. Bye. And so I think they wanted it to be like that, but I don't think it ended up being like that. I can tell you from experience, though, that if you roll into Gambit with everybody having one of the 4 classes, it goes way better. It's really hard. It's just really hard to pug that sort of thing, you know?
Well, yeah, that's the point, right? Is that like anything that you put careful planning into and say like, this is my 4 stack, this is who I play Gambit with, you're going to have a better time because those people are going to get used to the map locations and the roles they play and everything like that. That's how those games work.
Exactly. But my answer to the original question here is I definitely prefer the heavier side of asymmetry. I love variety in a game. I think there's no bigger variety possible than a completely different player experience. Kind of exactly what Mel said. Like if I'm playing, Dead by Daylight, the two halves, whether you're the killer or the survivor, they're completely different games. They have completely different goals. Yeah. And I really like that. And I like being able to flip back and forth. And more than that, I prefer to be the hunter in that game, but I like playing as the survivor because then I learn what strategies the survivors are likely to employ, and it makes me better on the other side. And then you go to the other side and it makes you better at the other, so it's just like you can constantly get better at essentially what is 2 different games at the same time, which is really cool.
And especially because like in light asymmetry, like you tend to follow the same strategy for both sides. And like the only difference is like your skill level, right? Like there's no difference in strategy whatsoever, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's true the lighter the asymmetry gets, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at a game like League of Legends or Dota, it's like, there's 500 different champions you could play as. People pick from the same 12 for each of the different roles, and there are 5 different roles. And if you don't play one of those different roles, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah.
And so it limits a lot of those choices.
Right. It's all about the execution and timing at that point.
Right. We talked about this very briefly in the previous question, but a lot of these games have like a hunter/hunted vibe, with actually 2015's Evolve kind of switching midway through, which is really cool. In these scenarios, do you prefer to hunt or to be hunted?
So to Evolve was kind of the first time that my game group got into these asymmetric games. I actually don't think I played one prior to this, but we all bought a copy of the game and we would all play it. And I think that game cemented that like I really like the experience of playing as the hunters instead of playing as kind of the monster. Plus, like, you kind of had to like do things where you'd be like, okay, well, you know, so-and-so is going to play the monster this time and we'll all wait. If you were going to play as that, because the monster, obviously, if you play as a monster, it is a solo experience, right? But anyways, the like coordination and the like, oh, I see the tracks, like, hey, let's converge. Hey, if so-and-so can go around like this, there's a bank of trees over here. If so-and-so can go around that and put sensors up and stuff. And like that felt really cool because it felt like, because the monster was always progressing in strength and had like these certain checkpoints in which they became bigger and stronger. And it felt like everything was on the line and you had to act as a team. You had to kind of hunt down the monster. So I always thought that was more exciting. I will say this, that there's one game, I played the games, but I've never played the game mode, that I would love to play as the hunted more. And this would be the only reason I would reinstall a Call of Duty game, is to play fucking Prop Hunt, which has always looked like it's so much goddamn fun. If nobody's heard of or played Prop Hunt, the whole concept behind Prop Hunt is that there is a team of people who are like regular ass soldiers with guns, Call of Duty style, and the other team is fucking inanimate objects. You're like a basketball or a washing machine or a pair of boots. And your job is to hide in the level and not get found. And like, it is, I've watched a ton of videos of playing Prop Hunt and it's always fucking hilarious, especially from the point of view of the person who's playing as the prop, because they like go through the whole mindset of like, would anybody expect boots right there? Like, or would they like even be able to see me if I like hid on this ledge? And like the game mode looks so fucking fun. And that would be the only time I think in which I would be like, no, I always want to be the washing machine on the fucking destroyer ship, always.
That sounds insane. There's a game like that out there called like Witch or something like that. Witch It. Thank you. Yeah. Which is basically just that.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, that's
which
amazing.
Is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. We should play it sometime.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I want to go back to your conversation about Evolve, because what's really interesting about Evolve is when you say you like to be the hunter, you meant one of the squad of humans. And in my mind, the hunter in Evolve is the monster. Oh. And I really like playing as the monster. Your goal is you hunt to get stronger of the like wildlife, and then at the end of the game, once you've got all your abilities unlocked and all of that, then you hunt the players. And all you have to do is survive to get to that point. So I think that's really cool that when you look at Evolve, you're like, in your mind, playing as the hunter means you are playing as one of the four humans hunting them down. And in my mind, playing as the hunter is, I am the monster. I am the hunter. I have to like get strong enough to take them down, which is really cool, right? I think that's just an awesome thing. That said, I much prefer to hunt in pretty much all of these games, including in Evolve, but as the monster. I want to be the monster. In Dead by Daylight, I want to be the killer, right? Like that sort of thing. I just love like coming around a group of trees or boxes, and I see all of the players, they just like scatter and their brains malfunction and all of their carefully laid plans fall apart because I thought of this, or I moved in this way, or I'm using these abilities that they weren't thinking about, like that sort of thing. I just think that that's really, really awesome. I love in Left 4 Dead 2 playing as the zombies, because you just got to like direct a horde and feel like an unkillable like machine, essentially. Like if you're the Charger, or if you're the I forget what the huge guy is that vomits on you, I forget his name.
Boomers.
Yes, thank you. Boomer. Like it can just be so much fun to just like kamikaze yourself in and then like respawn 15 seconds later, and now they're still cleaning up the kamikaze and like I just love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's just very chaotic. And that's probably one of the reasons why I love hunting, because murdering is fun. Let's be real. Like and especially if there's like proximity chat and like you can hear the other players like screaming. There's something very satisfying about that, guys. But alternatively, like when you're a survivor or the person that's being hunted, like it is also very fun to play with your friends and surviving with your friends, right? Like having that camaraderie and like that teamwork to like really see your strategy come through is just so exciting, right? Like you get to the end of the game and you're like high-fiving your buddies because you just like fucking murdered that particular monster or you escaped. It's always a great time. So that's true. I can go either way on this one.
So I think surviving is way more fun when you're with people you can chat with people you know.
Like, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have a little sub question here. In those games that feature like a big monster versus, a handful of survivors or other hunters or whatever, what's the move? Like, are you guys early rush players or like careful planning, develop your monster and like plan a big attack at the end? What's the move here for you guys?
It depends on the game. It really depends on the game, because in Left 4 Dead, like your main goal is to prevent the players from getting to the end within a certain amount of time. So you want to extend their surviving as long as possible. So what you want to do is you want to be able to rush forward as quickly as possible to like either pin them down or like get them caught into a corner so they can't necessarily progress without you like all the way at the very, very end trying to catch up with them. So
yeah, I also think to that point, something that matters a lot is how limited the player's resources are, right? So if you look at a game like Left 4 Dead, like things like ammo and health kits and all of that sort of stuff is very limited. And so rush early and rush often is a really good idea, because every time you do that, you're depleting the player's resources. If you look at a game like Evolve instead, where it's cooldown based, if you go after them in the beginning, A, you're super weak, but B, their cooldowns will just come back. And so it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're not going to kill them early. So your best bet is run, hide, get bigger, and then, kill them when you need to kill them, right? Or when you can finally kill them. But that's a really good question. What's your thoughts on that, Brodie?
I mean, it was more just that, like, I can't remember. I think I thought for a while that the move was to just try and get, like, if I was playing as a monster, to try and get the survivors down like as early as possible, because they don't like move along a progression scale. I can't remember. It's been so long since I played Evolve, whether they have like skill trees or something that they enhance themselves with like new armor or stronger bullets or something like that by playing longer. I can't remember. If they're like always as strong as they're going to be, then clearly that's a bad strategy, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're always as strong as they're going to be. They don't level up throughout the process of the match.
Okay, then yeah, I think that it what you guys have said really makes sense. If the whole point is to like spam attacks and to get in people's way as much as possible, then that's clearly the move here. Or if it's not, you just need to develop yourself long enough that you can have like a wide range of attacks and armor and strength or stealth or however your character plays, and do it when you feel like you have the right mix of skills and abilities and cooldowns and whatever.
Yeah. However, in Left 4 Dead, it's also really interesting because yes, you do want to get the other players down as quickly as possible, but there are choke points within the maps itself that requires you to have a very specific like zombie like meta in order for it to work out. So you may want to have like 2 hunters and then 1 boomer and then like some guy that's like strangling you or whatever. Like there's very specific ways on and tactics in Left 4 Dead that may require you to either get them down early or like, technically, just choking them at that one point and then getting them all down at the same time.
Yeah, one of my favorite strategies in Left 4 Dead 2 was to play as the smoker, who's, the guy who gets you with his super long tongue and drags you, and then have the vomiting guy, the spitter, make a pool that you drag that survivor through. Right, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then if you can drag them like into like an alleyway or behind a house or behind a garage or something, and then have your boomer friend behind it, where it's like, oh, they come at them, and then the boomer comes out, and it's just like, oh no, it's an AOE wasteland, baby. You got a zombie stew going at that point. It fucking rules.
Oh man. That's awesome.
Brodie, what about you? You got any experience in Left 4 Dead? You got any secret strats?
Well, it's not for myself, but I have played Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2, my experience was just playing like as the survivors. I didn't really play much as the zombies. I didn't have much luck early on, and so I kind of avoided it. But at the time that came out, I was living with one of my best friends in Washington, D.C., and he had a squad of 3 other people, and they played this every night, basically ranked. There may have been a ranked mode, but they played as the survivors. And it was what if they had like an inherent skill-based matchmaking or something, they must have been near the highest. I never saw them lose, but they did these things where they knew all the maps. And again, playing as the humans, one of the biggest things they needed to do is get gas cans to these generators, kind of like Dead by Daylight style. You're not repairing them, but to get gas cans to these generators to power the whatever to get out of the level or to beat back the zombie hordes. They were unbelievably efficient at passing the gas cans, like throwing off certain balconies, and like their call outs and stuff were unbelievable. Again, I never saw them lose against either a team of AI folks or real people in a match, just because they were so unbelievably coordinated and knew the maps so well. And it was exciting. It was like what you were watching, like a sport, like a competitive sport, because it was just all execution. Like, oh, I know that Ken is going to run over there and he's going to plant himself over there. If he gets too much pressure, he's going to go under this other bridge. And then, Craig is going to pass him the gas can over there instead. Like they had this all down to a science. It was unreal.
That's crazy.
So I don't have my own strats, but like call outs are king.
And competitive, like Left 4 Dead was like the most interesting like games to watch, because like all these people had like those strats that you're talking about of just like executing with the timing, and everything is just like, it's one of those things where like you don't even have to talk to each other. They just kind of like know what they're going to be doing next, right? Like with just a little bit of modification. So seeing like how the survivors deal with that, and then like having like the zombies deal with that is just like so cool, because I don't know, it's just interesting. I've never gotten like super into it, but like I've had a lot of friends that were into like the competitive scenes, and they were like telling me tricks on like, oh, if you're a hunter, what you want to do to gain max point is to like crawl up like the tallest building and then pounce from that height onto somebody, and like the actual height differential is like what gives you the max amount of points. And then if you stay on him long enough, like that will also give you points. And then if you have a boomer there that's booming on top of like multiple survivors and like zombies are hitting them, it gets max points. It's just the whole scheme and the whole strategy behind all of the hunters is just so interesting.
Yeah,
I miss it.
Galaxy brain.
And it's funny because you talked about that strategy, and I'm thinking like, oh man, a well-placed charger could just knock him right off that bridge, and then or you jockey him out into the open, and they're done for. And it's just like, it's such a cool dichotomy between the different play styles, and it's like, the humans, yes, you want that like really solid strategy. And as the zombies, you have to be really reactive to what the human strategy is. And I just think it's a really unique way to play the game. And it speaks to the kind of gameplay experience that you can only get out of an asymmetrical game like that,
Right.
I think it's really cool. So obviously Left 4 Dead 2 was one of the most popular asymmetrical games out there. In fact, people are still playing it to this day, despite the fact that Back 4 Blood, its spiritual successor, has already come out. People are still playing it. On the flip side of that popularity coin, the Wii U.
Yeah.
This was a system that was rife with local asymmetrical games. Do we have any experience with them? And if so, which ones? And I'm going to go first because I didn't own a Wii U. I skipped it. I have very little experience with it. But the idea of Zombie U was really cool, and one of my only regrets of not getting the system, because the way that it worked is everybody who was playing local multiplayer could play as a survivor trying to escape these zombies and get through the level, kind of like Left 4 Dead. But the person who was on the other side used the gamepad and had the ability to place zombies in specific locations throughout the map.
Yep.
Right? So they're just like
zombie
poking
commander.
the map. Yeah, exactly. A zombie general. Right? And it's just such a cool idea to me that it's a real bummer that I never got to play it.
Yeah.
Well,
same.
I got news for you guys. If you ever do want to play it, I have a Wii U and a copy of Zombie U and have played the game. It is every bit as interesting as you think it is. Like to have the one person with the gamepad. And when we were playing, when Mare and I would play it, she would always play as, I think it was technically called the Master of Zombies, the RTS style gameplay. And you always kind of determine you could put zombies places. And it was fascinating. It really was. And then I would just play as the like first person. Yeah, I'm the shotgun guy or whatever. I'm going to run around and try and capture the points. And the game plays shockingly good. It wouldn't surprise me if the game plays like garbage now in retrospect, because like the Wii U was not a very, strong piece of hardware and like trying to force a bunch of people onto a screen and then another on the handset. I will say this though, as somebody who did own a Wii U, I absolutely loved the innovative use of the gamepad when they did really lean into it. Nintendo Land, I've talked about a couple of times, being an excellent showcase of mini games that not only include this sort of asymmetrical experience and things like they're called Mario Chase, Luigi's Ghost Mansion, and Animal Crossing Sweet Day. These are all kind of variations basically on sort of like Pac-Man style ideas, where like in Luigi's Ghost Mansion, for example, the person that has the gamepad, if I recall correctly, is a ghost, and they're going around and trying to haunt people, while all the vampire hunters, the ghost hunters, are the people that are playing on the TV, and they have flashlights and they can't see the ghost, obviously, but they have to try and deduce where the ghost is on the map. So, and then Mario Chase was your basic, like, it was tag more or less, but like, you know, you could see the whole map if you were playing with the gamepad and stuff like that. I thought it was very clever. I thought that game truly shined in the other stuff, the co-op stuff that wasn't necessarily asymmetrical, because I don't think co-op games can be. But like the Metroid minigame, the Zelda minigame were super good. But yeah, the Wii U had some really cool stuff. It'll always be a shame to me that they figured out like 20 minutes after the Wii U was launched, like, oh, fuck it, let's just put everything in the handset. We did it backwards. Like we should have just, and then the Switch was born.
Yeah.
Because I love the Wii U. I thought it was very cool, but like there wasn't all that much had happened on it.
I want to make it abundantly clear. The Wii U was not very cool. It had some interesting ideas, but it was not very cool. It looked like a Play School console.
I mean, so, okay, aesthetically with the like way the tablet looked,
big plastic bubble.
Sure, okay, that looks like your Leapfrog or whatever the kids use. I have no idea what this. Okay, sure. However, what it was capable of doing was cool, and like there were some good fucking games on there.
Sure. Yes, I agree.
I love the Wii U.
I don't think I've played enough on the Wii U to like really have an opinion on this, but can we talk about like Mario Party games and how like they have those asymmetrical, like, you know, mini games where like you're the person that's like rotating a log and like your friends are trying to stay on top of the log. Like those, I love those types of mini games because I just feel so evil when I'm in control of like knocking off my friends.
I love it. Was there a Mario Party on the Wii U where you like had to pass the gamepad or like the screen around?
Yeah, so
that sounds cool.
Yeah,
I think that they did Wii Party U for sure, which was a game that we played where they just were like, let's take Mario kind of sort of out of it and we'll replace it with Mii's instead. And the game was shockingly fun. And then I think Mario Party 9 may have been released on the Wii U.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, they definitely in Wii Party U incorporated games like that.
Oh, sounds like we need to have a party at Brodie's house to play some Wii U games.
Let's hook it up. We can't.
Right. I was going to ask, do you still have it hooked up? Do you love it that much?
I don't still have it hooked up, but in preparation for this episode, I was honestly thinking about hooking it up in my living room where I have an open HDMI slot. So I may still hook it up. The problem is that like, because there's so much that happens in the controller, you have to charge that separately. So it's not like the Switch where the Joy-Cons just charge on the console. You have to like dedicate an extra outlet to charging the handset anyway. So there's just an extra layer of like, I'm running out of outlets to deal with that.
Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about hidden role games, aka social deduction games. These obviously have their roots in, you know, non-digital games like Mafia or Vampire, where you're playing as a killer and the other people have to try and discover you. But the interesting thing that carried over to digital games is that they all require you to be able to chat with one another about who the traitor is. And so I just want to know, what is your strategy when you're the traitor, and how do you suss them out if you're not? And suss is spelled S-U-S, and that's a visual pun for an audio podcast. Deal with it, listeners. But what do you guys got here?
I am so bad at lying when it comes to being the traitor or the murderer that like it's not even funny. Like I will straight up like. And I also have like peanut brain when it comes to like playing these types of games because like either overthink the whole entire scenario where I'm like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of people in this area. Maybe if I killed one, then like somebody will blame the other person. And then I end up just like blatantly kill somebody in a group of like in a whole entire crowd, and everybody's just looking at me like, you're obviously the killer. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, there's no way that I killed that person. It was that guy. And it's bad. I am like so bad at these types of games. Like, it's not even funny. Like, don't play with me.
All right, and following on that, I as well am a god-awful liar. I used to be a big habitual liar when I was a kid, and I was so bad at it that I eventually had to give it up just because it was so frustrating to never get away with anything. But I'll be honest with you that I just don't play these games. Like I've never played Among Us, not even once. So I think my only experience with this is playing games like tabletop games like Betrayal or something like that. And I got to tell you, like, my strategy on Betrayal or Unfathomable or Mansions of Madness, if I end up being one of the traitors, is just to like kind of fucking keep my head down and I get real quiet. And I just try and act like I'm having trouble with the rules or something, I guess, because otherwise I'm just going to be like, I'm not doing something suspicious right now. I'm god awful. If you're playing against me in one of these games, you're going to win. I promise.
It sounds like it'd be a blast to play with both of you in this type of game.
Oh my god!
Because man. So from a trader standpoint, I think the key thing is to like continue to play. Like, you cannot arouse suspicion by changing your behaviors, right? And so you have to continue to play in the way that you normally would. So I'm going to flip this around. Like, if I am not the traitor, my biggest thing is like I'll pair up with one person. And that way, if I die, everyone else knows who did it. And if I don't die, I have at least one person I can trust, right? So that's great. So that means that when I play as the traitor, I will pair up with one person. And then I will do things like, in Among Us, separate us by locking the doors. Like, they'll go through the door first, or I'll go through the door first, and then I'll lock the door. So it's like, oh shit, we got separated. And while we're separated, I go do a murder. And then I come back and I'm like, I was with you the whole time. I just did that one task while the doors were closed. Like that sort of stuff. The other thing is you got to cast dispersions, as they would say in the South. You've got to like get all the blame off of you, and you do that in both times, right? When you're not the traitor, you have to get blame off of you because you're not the traitor, right? Mel, you look amazed.
I mean, these are expert strats, because I think the whole entire time, if I was to do any of that, I'd be laughing. just being like, that's great. I was doing something else over there. What do you mean I wasn't with you?
Well, the fun thing is, at least in Among Us, you only unmute your microphone for when a meeting is called, right? And so it doesn't matter if you're laughing during it, as long as you cannot laugh during the meeting. That's the way it works. Like, it's just so good. I just love it, right? I'm not a master at Among Us. There are some crazy people who play Among Us.
True.
But yeah, it's wild. And also, sometimes in Among Us, there's multiple killers. And if that's the case and you can pair up with the other person, it's like, oh, me and Dave were over here and we were working on plants or whatever. And it's like, no, we went on a 6-person killing spree.
Hiding in vents.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was so good.
Jeez.
Man, I love these sorts of games. I'm the guy who loves these sorts of games. And the cool thing is they work so well at parties too.
It's true. Yeah, they're good party games.
Like, everybody just on their phone playing Among Us and like trying to be quiet while the murders are happening. And then it's like, all right, now we can all talk. Somebody hit the button or whatever. Somebody discovered a body. Like, it's great. But speaking of party games, one other concept that I love is one player who's instructed by people who aren't even holding a controller. So this might mean that one player is in VR or other players are interacting with their phones or whatever. Have you guys experienced this? And if so, what do you think?
Yes, I'm gonna get to this first. Sorry, Mel.
That's fine.
I think the one game I've played like this is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which is a game that's about bomb defusal, and it is a wild game because the person who has the headset on is able to see and interact with the bomb, but they have no idea what to do with it, basically. And then all the folks who are around it have like in our case, when we played it a couple of years ago, had a printed 60-page manual about how to defuse the bomb. And so you have a team of people who are rifling through this long ass document, trying to figure out what you're seeing. Okay, I see a panel with a red light, a green light, and 3 switches. What do I do? What do I do? I've got this much time. And the folks on the outside are scrambling to go through this stuff and find what exactly you should do. Mm-hmm. And it is awesome. It is wild. We actually, so the funniest part, my dad came down while we were playing. This was a couple years ago, so we're all 35-year-old people. We've had 3 beers, 4 beers, and he came down and he's like, "Oh," and we immediately were like, "All right, Dad, put this headset on. All right, so you're gonna see a thing. Just try and describe it, and we're gonna tell you what to do with this thing." It was everybody yelling at my dad. It was really funny. He loved it though. He loves that kind of shit with just innovation stuff. But Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is the only one that I played, but it was a wild, fun experience for a party.
Same.
Highly recommend it.
I get so angry when people don't understand what I'm talking about, or
oh God.
or they don't necessarily remember the first thing I talked about. But then as I'm the person playing the bomb diffuser, I'm everybody stop talking, don't yell at me. I'm literally trying to figure out, and I just end up cutting the wrong thing to make everybody shut up.
That's hilarious. So I may have told this story before, but Shane, who is a previous guest of the pod, once printed out the instruction manual for Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes for me in preparation of us playing the game together. Mm-hmm. And I had it in my backpack, and I did not realize it. And I was going to the airport.
Oh, no!
Oh, no!
And I had the printed bomb defusal manual in the bottom of my backpack at the airport. And luckily I was able to throw it out before I got to security. But man, it would have been a real tough to explain what the fuck that was about.
Yeah.
Back when the game first came out.
Yikes.
Also, if you're looking for this experience, but you don't have a VR headset, there's an iOS game called Them Bombs, which is very similar. Them Bombs.
Interesting.
I know, it's a weird name, but it's basically the same game. One person has the bomb on their phone, everybody else has the instruction manual on their phone, and it's a lot of fun. I don't think it's as much fun as Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, but it's still a lot of fun.
Have you guys?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask if you guys have seen the professional bomb diffusers play this game, where they've never played the game before. They just kind of threw two individuals into the game themselves, and they just fucking nail it. They are just so fucking good at it. And I'm like, how the hell do you have that much you guys must be touching brains or something. I don't understand how good you guys are at this game. If you guys haven't seen that video, listeners, please
awesome.
see it.
It is awesome. I've seen it
great.
Too.
It makes me feel so trustworthy of the people who actually have to defuse the bombs. I'm like, yeah, you got this.
So the one thing I was going to bring up is Dale, why do you think they haven't come up with a version of Space Team that a game mode on Space Team that's like this? Because it seems like they would totally be able to do this.
Because Space Team isn't asymmetrical. It's a symmetrical game. It's just everyone has their own panel in front of them. And so they have, and it's called Star Trek Bridge Crew, I think. And it's a VR game where everybody plays as a position on the Star Trek bridge, right? So it's one person has their engineering panel in front of them, and they've got to do all the shit that the captain says, essentially. But it also would be prohibitively expensive because it would require everybody in the room to have a VR headset. And while the Quest is cheap, I don't think we're to the point of hey guys, here's my 6 VR headsets. Yeah. Let's play this game.
Google Cardboard.
I mean, I guess, but you don't have a controller when you play with Google Cardboard.
Yeah.
But in theory, somebody could do it. If you're out there and you want some maniacs to playtest this game, let us know. We'll playtest this. The game I want to talk about, though, is a game called Hidden Agenda, which came out on the PS4, and it was a PlayLink game. Do you guys remember PlayLink?
No.
Nobody remembers.
Is this
PlayLink.
A thing that where you it works with your phone? That's the phone integration?
Yes, okay. Exactly.
All right.
So Hidden Agenda is basically a movie of it's basically a detective movie, and all of the players play using their phone. So it's like you'll hover over a thing to investigate it. You'll hover over different dialogue options and that sort of thing. But one of the players is a saboteur. And so they're trying to convince people like, oh, we should look at the broken window, when they know that the broken window doesn't have anything to do with it, like that sort of stuff. And it's just a really interesting take on this, because you often don't see hidden role built into an asymmetrical game like this, you know?
Yeah.
It unfortunately, it's a movie, right? It's like an MFV game, and so there's not a lot of replayability. But man, it's cool the first time you do it. It's a very cool experience. Yeah. So we have beaten around the bush this whole episode. We didn't ask this question at the beginning because I wanted to ask it near the end. What is your favorite asymmetrical game and why? And I'm going to go first here because I discovered something so fucking exciting when I was researching this that it blew my mind. I loved the living card game by Fantasy Flight Games called Netrunner. Netrunner is a board game where one person plays it's a card game. It's like Magic, in that you build your deck beforehand and then you play against the other person. But each person has to bring two decks, one where they play as the corporation and one where they play as the runner trying to get stuff from the corporation. And you play against one another. Obviously, due to the complexity of this, it was really tough to find people to play with in real life, because I would basically have to hand them decks and they'd have to like be all in on learning the rules. The rules are very complex, that sort of thing. And because of all of that, Fantasy Flight Games discontinued this game in 2018, which sucks because I love it and it ruled. But in researching this game, I found out, or in researching this episode, I found out that since then, fans have basically taken over this game. They have released new sets, complete with new rules and artwork and all that sort of stuff. They have even built a fully functional online client where you can play this game. And I'm so fucking excited to be able to play Netrunner again. So I'll see you guys on gintechie.net. That's where you can find it if you want to play. And if you want to play, hit me up in the Discord. I will teach you how to play. I love this game.
I feel like a total fucking idiot, dude, because I knew about this for some time. And not only that, but I know that you love Netrunner. And for some reason nothing ever triggered in my mind that it was like, oh, I should tell Dale about this. So I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. I've known about this for like...
know about this for some time. You don't even play Netrunner.
Well, yeah, but it's part of I'm tuned into a lot of board game stuff. And so I heard about the Nisai or whatever, the reboot folks. I've known about this for like at least a year. So I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm an asshole.
I
apologize.
Year.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and just I'm an idiot, so I
fine,
apologize.
Man. You can make it up to me by playing with me.
Okay. At some point, I would like to try and play it. Actually, I know a place where the original Android Netrunner is still on sale, which is wild. Because I think
I still have my copy. It's great.
Yeah, but like you don't see it anywhere for sale.
No, it was discontinued in 2018. So
yeah.
If you can pick it up because it's brilliant.
Well, maybe I'll be able to do that later today. Anyways, so for me, probably my most positive experiences and my favorite ones that I've had. I'm going to just break it down to two. One is the old school game Natural Selection, which was a mod for Half-Life. I've talked about it before on the game, it's like a Space Marines versus Aliens sort of thing. It's not like officially licensed by Alien, but the Aliens had like a totally different way to play, where they had like these little kind of like scout guys that were played by characters, and they could like run up walls and on the ceilings and stuff, and they could move super fast. And then the Space Marine side of things had like a commander that could play like the Master of Zombies thing, where they could deploy turrets and like base defenses in addition to like the actual gun carrying members of the Space Marine faction. And I played the actual shit out of that game because I loved the like weird differences in territory control. It was a wild idea, and I actually am disappointed it never really became kind of like some of these other Half-Life source mods like Counter-Strike and whatever that got huge, Team Fortress, and blew up and became their own things. So it's going to be either that or a game that I've only played for a couple minutes, but it was so fucking cool that I wanted to keep playing it, but I couldn't because I was on vacation. I had to go, which is I was at my buddy Pat's house. Shout out to Pat. was a guest on one of our episodes on VR. This game called Panopticon he had for his PC, and the way it played was that one person had the VR headset and controlled like this giant eyeball, and the other player used like a controller or like the mouse and keyboard, and they played like a worker that looked like 1,000 other little workers. It's walking around this diorama thing, and their whole goal is to sabotage like these generators. And if you're playing as the giant eye, all you're trying to do is find the one of the little worker dudes that's the other person is playing and kill them. So you have to watch and see which ones are acting suspect, and like you shoot them, and every time you shoot them and it's the wrong thing, you get penalized as the like giant eyeball thing. It was so fucking cool, man. I wanted to keep playing this over and over again because I was like, no, I know I'll be able to get it next time because they give you some cues and stuff. It was a super fucking cool game. The version I played was just one-on-one. I don't know if the game is always one-on-one, and I don't have a PC VR rig, so I don't own the copy of the game. But if you do have a PC VR rig, check out Panopticon, especially if you've got people that can locally play with you. It was damn cool.
That sounds awesome. I have two quick notes about what you said. One, Gannon was actually helping me do some of the research for this and helping me write some of these questions last night, and he brought up Natural Selection, which I had never played. But it turns out that Natural Selection 2 is available on PC.
Oh.
And I accidentally own it, probably through a Humble Bundle. And so I installed it last night. I have not booted it up. Yes, it's on Steam. And if I'm not mistaken, because we're recording this the weekend after Thanksgiving, and so there's all these Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals, I think a 4-pack is like $25.
Oh, it's cheap. Yeah. And it looks like it was nominated for a Steam award.
Yeah.
Oh, also, that's so cool.
In my research for this, a lot of people say that Natural Selection 2 is like the best asymmetric first-person shooter out there.
Yes.
So,
thanks for the heads up. Yeah, it's $9 on Steam right now, so I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, and you didn't have to wait a year to find out that your favorite game still exists. You're welcome. And then the other thing is the Panopticon game that you talked about. I don't know if you've heard of Spy Party, but it sounds a lot like Spy Party.
I have not.
Spy Party's sweet. It's this game where one of the players is a sniper trying to take out a double agent.
Oh, I've seen people play this on TikTok or on Twitch. Yeah.
And then the other person plays as the double agent in this party, and they have to like do all of these different specific things while also trying to blend in with the party guests. And it sounds awesome.
Interesting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Mel, what's your favorite?
Man, I wish that I had a better answer for this, but like right now, like my favorite is Back 4 Blood. Like I really enjoy that game a lot. It's just the ability of collecting cards and then having different cards affect like your gameplay. It's just been like so much fun because like every game that you play is different from one another. Like you can get certain they're called corruption cards, and those are the cards that like affect the enemies. That there's some that they have, more health. Some of them are on fire. Some of them you have to shoot like in the head in order to kill. And like it can get really intense and really difficult really quickly. And I love playing it with friends. And I really wish I had more friends that are like, Mel, let's play this game. Like we need to get through it.
I love it. We should definitely play it together.
Why aren't we playing it, Dale?
Well, we're recording a podcast episode. But yes, we should play it when we're not recording this podcast episode. I think it's great. The one downside of Back 4 Blood, I don't like the multiplayer versus as much as Left 4 Dead.
True.
Right? Because it's like you're in one place and it's just how long can you survive as opposed to like the progress-based thing. Mm-hmm. But other than that, man, I really like it. My only problem is I played it on PlayStation, and so to play with you, I'd have to switch to PC. I own it on PC. I just wouldn't have any of my progress yet. So we'd have to like go through all the base stuff.
Sure.
So real quick, have they corrected or augmented the difficulty of the game at all? Because I played it when it launched, and it was absolutely brutal, and I fucking hated it.
Yeah, they have changed it, which is great, but it is still very difficult to get through.
Ooh.
Yeah. But it also really depends on the corruption cards. Like you could have like really shitty corruption cards where like there are extra monsters and they have extra health and you can only shoot them in the head and you're like, fuck, like my aim is terrible. Like I can't use Molotovs anymore, Like but like if you were to re-roll the cards for the corruption cards, like it could be an easier game experience. So really
and
kind of
also
depends.
your build really matters in that. And so getting additional cards for the survivor you choose to play as really, really matters. Like I started out and was having a real rough time. And then I discovered this like crazy melee build where it was like your melee is stronger. And every time you kill a zombie with melee, you regain health and like all of this stuff. And so I was able to like basically run out in front of everyone and just swing the bat to kill like the common zombies, which cleared the way for everybody else to take out the uncommons and like that. So like the strategy really matters, but because it's a card-based system where you have to earn those cards, you have to put a little bit of time into it to like unlock the like crazier strats. It's still fun when you're unlocking everything, but it gets more, obviously it's one of those games where it's like the more overpowered you are, the more fun you're having, because it's like, oh sweet, all these zombies are just dead, you know. So putting a little bit of time into it is definitely worth the reward, I think.
All right.
Cool. And if you guys want to play with us, if you're listening and you're like, man, Back 4 Blood's fun, get in the Discord. We'll play with you.
With us.
Come
It'd
play
be
with
fun.
us. Yeah. All right, so it's time for our last question, and that means you know what time it is. Our sponsor. This question is sponsored by Bell's palsy, the disease that I had that made my face asymmetrical one winter. Anyway, microtransactions ran out in front of me as I was coming home the other day. He was hiding in my driveway. It was fucking terrifying. This demon with a suit on, and he told me like, "Hey man, I am sick of all these asymmetrical sports games." And he wants something new. He wants to be able to put more players in these games, or 3 teams, or something weird, right? And so he wants us to take an existing sport. He wants us to make it asymmetrical, and then he wants us to let EA make a yearly version of it, and they'll probably jam-pack it with loot boxes and DLC and all of that. So tell me, what demon sport hast thou created?
Dale, I'm very disappointed that you didn't run over Michael Transaction.
I was already out of my car. He ambushed me out like from behind our second vehicle. He was like, ah!
Kick him in the nuts, man.
He has no testicles, or he's one giant living testicle. I couldn't tell.
Oh, there it is. There it is. You got it. One giant ball. That's him. And also, just quick shout out, because not only did Bell's palsy do that to your face, it also, presumably, this individual was born at that moment. Both sides. Shout out to both sides.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if somebody had a nickname about how both sides of their face were.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I want to go first here because I've been waiting my whole life since high school for this moment, for somebody to ask me about this. Shout out to my buddy Ryan, who him and I have been brainstorming this idea for a very long time. And it is a variation, my friends, on the sport of hockey. And the variation of hockey, one team has 5 players like normal, except that they can't have a goalie or anybody in the goal crease. And the other team has 2 goalies, a slightly larger net, and 1 defenseman.
And so,
yeah, so we've been talking for a long time of like, you know, you go into like double overtime and like the every moment is tense and like shots on goal are going crazy. And we always were like, oh, pull a player and put in another goalie. And like, let's just make that a fucking sport, man. Let's make it 2 10-minute halves. It's going to be fast. It's going to be brutal. And in order to actually have the game happen, octopus throwing is mandatory. It is a tradition in Detroit sports that people love during the end of the national anthem, throwing octopi, dead octopi. They buy it like their local fishmonger onto the ice. If they don't get at least like 10 to 15 octopi on the ice before the game, they fucking cancel it. No refunds. All right. So you gotta hope that you brought enough octopi to make this fucking game happen. So yeah. One team has 2 goalies and 1 defenseman. They're trying to do bank shots into the open net on the other side, while the other team is a full team full of hockey players with no goalie that's trying to score on the other team. There it is.
I thought you threw octopi like at the end of the game when they won. I didn't realize it was
right at the end of the national anthem. It's right at the beginning of the end of the national anthem. It's the last. Crazy. Al Sabatka will wing it around in his hand. Al Sabatka being the Zamboni driver, and then they fucking start the game.
I love it.
So stupid.
I put way too much thought into this over the last couple of years.
I love it, and I also love that you know the Zamboni driver for the Red Wings.
Oh, he's legendary. Actually, I think he got fired, but we're going to bring Al Sabaka back for this, okay? He's getting rehired.
Unless he's problematic. Unless he got fired.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Oh, that definitely needed to be said. If you're a fucker, you're still a fucker and you're fired.
Yeah. Insane. I love two goalies though.
Yeah. Just like giant dudes with like gloves everywhere, just trying to catch the hockey puck. That's amazing.
Pull a player, put in another goalie.
So stupid. I would love to have a short person basketball where it's one short person versus 5 tall people. But the thing is that like it would never work in real life if you think about it, because that short person's like obviously gonna have like a problem, right? But like it would be so cool to have as a video game, because the short person could get like, I don't know, like power-ups, like a speed boost or like jumping powers or like 3+ to dunking, and they're just fucking amazing at dunking.
So it wasn't an accident that there's only one short person and 5 tall people in the game of basketball, then, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to One Team Loses.
Imagine. But that would be so much fun. I would play that game. Just be the small person that's sneaking around all the tall people, jumping off their backs into a hoop.
I'm going to hell, because the moment you said one short person versus 5 tall people, I thought of that meme of the girl sitting on the couch with the 5 dudes behind her.
Oh no, you are going to hell.
So your game is way better than what I thought about.
I'll hold the door open for you on the way into hell, Dale.
Yeah. So right now, just pulling back the curtain a little bit, the World Cup is going on and nobody cares. And so I think we should make soccer more exciting. Or football if you live in the civilized world. And what I want is each game has a third team in the game.
Ooh.
It's a third team, but that team only gets to pick one player to put on the field. No substitutions. They don't do any like that guy's in there for the whole time. And that team wins if the game is a tie.
That would happen very often.
So if the game is a tie, that team wins. And what's interesting about this is that one player, that one guy from the third team, he's always an extra defensive player for both teams, right? In the beginning. Because it's like he doesn't want anyone to score. But the moment that a team scores, the losing team has a bonus player on the field. And then once it gets back to parity, now he goes back to trying to be defensive for both teams. And so it would be absolute chaos. I think it would be totally wild. But I love the idea of it. And I also love the idea of like ties, like still resulting in a win, because ties happen so frequently in soccer right now that it's like, all right, because right now, if you tie in soccer, it's like half a win for each of the teams. Mm-hmm. This makes it to where you really don't want to tie. You really have to be aggressive and try and put the ball in the net, because if you tie, you still lose.
That's
chaos.
That's an idea, man. That's fascinating. What happens if that person scores?
It counts for the team that they scored for again.
I guess that makes sense,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
They only want it, and they would be trying to score if the team that they're trying to score for is losing, because then it gets it back to being a tie.
Okay,
I think it's a cool idea, and I look forward to EA putting out ultimate packs with the best tie boys or whatever we decide to call them.
Tie boys.
I don't know, man.
Oh no.
I don't know. You guys got anything else to say about asymmetrical games?
Dead by Daylight's hard. That's it.
Dude, it's so good.
It's so much fun, though.
Is so good.
I don't like it.
It's so fun. What don't you like about it?
It's too hard.
What part about it is hard? The killing or the not being killed?
Yes, all of it. All of it's hard.
The skill check is the hardest. That's the real
skill
boss.
Skill checks are real fucking hard. I didn't even know for the first 2 matches I was pressing the wrong button.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
Yeah.
No, Brodie.
Yeah, I made a lot of noise. A lot of noise.
Classic case of Brodie playing a game wrong strikes again. Brodie, we should play it together. I'll teach you how to play it for real, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's very
Do some
good.
custom private games. It'll be fun.
It's very good. All right. So normally this is probably where we would, say fuck you to Dan. But I have a special note from Gannon, which is harsher than anything we could come up with, which is where Gannon said that any game of Valorant that he plays with Dan is an asymmetrical game because Dan counts as less than one whole teammate. So I'm sorry, Dan.
Jeez.
Like, I feel bad about this one, but Gannon was adamant about this going in.
Oh,
which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cold.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fucking savage. Anyway, tell the people where you can be found.
You can find me as Arborescence on the Discord, or Arborescence1 on Twitter, which I guess is still going to be things, and then Arborescence on Hive.
I am not with any of the new social medias, and I probably should be, but I'm Elephant. Eventually you'll find me there wherever there is.
So I am a 20-sided ninja on Twitch, still on Twitter, on Discord. I'm also on Hive. I'm also in Mastodon at a 20-sided ninja Mastodon, but without the vowels, .party. So that's fun. When you pick your domain in Mastodon, you get to pick like where it is. And so party. And outside of that, I need to decide if we're going to put the SuperOK on any of these other social media networks. So if you have an opinion about that, put that in our Discord, or you can tweet it at us,
yeah.
or you can DM us, or you can go to our website, and then all of this stuff is right there. And if you're on Patreon, your vote will count twice. I've decided right now,
but
because we love our Patreons.
If you tweet it at us, you have to change your name to Elon Musk first.
Yep, that sounds right.
No, I want to know who it's coming from.
Yeah, it's Elon Musk.
It's always Elon.
Yeah.
Man, we didn't say fuck you, Dan, but I will say fuck you, Elon.
Yup.
All right, everybody, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.